How's it going, everyone? Sorry for Mother Swan Drop. That was today. It's June 7th, 2021, and today we're going to focus on the next potential tropical cyclone that could form in the Caribbean Sea this week, or into next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. So let's begin by taking a look at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook all throughout the Atlantic, and you see that we really only have one disturbance that we need to be aware of in the Atlantic, which is this potential disturbance number 1, which does have a chance of developing within the next 5 days. It is currently low, so you might be thinking, what's the big deal about this? Is this gonna it's unlikely to form, so this might not be a major concern. However, it's when we go beyond 5 days where I do think there is a possibility where the chances of development will increase above the 20% chance we currently have over the next 5 days. And on this channel, I want to give you guys a detailed forecast even when it's long term, so all of you guys in within the Atlantic could at least be aware of maybe a potential tropical cyclone that could form even beyond 5 days out. However, again, take it with a grain of salt, but you see that we do have a 20% chance of formation just off the coast of Central America at this point, and we do and I do see, based off of the computer models, that conditions could become more conducive, not only in the longer term future, but beyond 5 days out. So let's first take a look at the sea surface temperatures to see where exactly this storm will develop. And you see that the current sea surface temperatures are more than conducive enough for development, where the area that has a possibility of tropical storm formation is currently over 28 degrees Celsius water, which is equivalent to well above 80-degree water Fahrenheit, which is more than conducive enough for tropical cyclone development. And it's not only the warmer than average the warm sea surface temperatures in this region. We also have to take a look at the upper ocean heat content, and you see, especially just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, we do see that water. We do see a lot of ocean water have a lot of heat within it with depth. So even if this storm were to linger over the same area, there's just plenty of warm water in the deeper areas of the ocean. So this storm will have plenty of warm water to absorb before the heat content runs out in the ocean. So that will definitely support tropical cyclone development over the next several days, having the upper ocean heat content be very abundant at this time of the year, and also the warmer than average temperatures, sea surface temperatures for this time of the year just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. And even if it were below average, the sea surface temperatures are still warm enough for tropical cyclone development, where we do see 28 degrees Celsius, which is above 80 degrees. Now, let's take a look at the computer models as of right now, and this is the relative humidity, which gives a good idea of how much convection there is within a certain area, how much dry air there is, and of course, dry air inhibits tropical cyclone development, while more humid air and more convection obviously makes conditions more conducive for tropical cyclone development. And as you can see, in the area that is forecasted that has a potential of pretty much bringing out a tropical cyclone, there's still a decent amount of dry air. So obviously at this point, and at least in the near future, there is a very small chance, or pretty much an impossible chance, of tropical cyclone formation, since there's just so much dry air and there isn't really a well-defined low pressure system over this area. However, if we continue to move forward over the next several hours, going beyond the 48-hour mark, we do see conditions begin to moisten up right around the southern Central American countries, such as Costa Rica and into Panama as well. So we certainly could see the chance of tropical cyclone development increase going beyond the 48-hour mark once we see this plume of moisture come into the Central American countries and move further northward, and it's going to create sort of a gyre type pattern right around the Central America region, which will obviously enhance the chance of tropical cyclone formation, since there's going to be more lift in the atmosphere. There's going to be more convection, and since it's going to be over an area which is well above 80 degrees with a lot of upper ocean heat content, it's really going to create a conducive environment for some tropical cyclone development just off the coast of Central America. Once we see sort of a gyre type low pressure system move in and bring an influx of moisture from the Pacific and into the Atlantic, so tropical cyclone formation could be possible headed beyond 48 hours. And even if we move beyond the 5 day mark, we do see a low pressure form right around the Central American region, right around just off the coast of Belize. So we could certainly see a low pressure form out of this gyre, and that really could enhance the chance of tropical cyclone formation. And as you can see, even moving beyond the 5 day mark, there's just going to be an influx of moisture throughout Central America. And while the GFS is currently not forecasting a low pressure system to form out of this just yet. However, in the previous runs, the GFS was very lenient on developing some sort of low pressure system out of this gyre. So there's still certainly that possibility. Let's take a look at the forecast as of June 5th, and you see the GFS model was developing a low pressure system, a well-defined low pressure system that could maybe become Tropical Storm Bill, and it does bring it towards the Florida coast. And this is an extremely long-term forecast. Currently, as of the latest forecast, the GFS isn't really developing a low pressure system, but I still do believe there is a pretty good chance that some sort of tropical cyclone will develop out of this gyre region thanks to the influx of moisture and the warm sea surface temperatures. Now, another major factor that plays a role in tropical cyclone development is also the upper level winds. So let's take a look at the upper level winds as of right now, and you see there is a decent amount of wind shear throughout just off the coast of Central America, and it extends to the Gulf, as we're seeing a little bit of an upper level high pressure system bring winds sort of in this direction in the upper levels, in a clockwise direction. However, that is expected to change headed into the future, which could again make conditions more conducive for tropical cyclone development, because as you can see, the wind shear eventually dissipates almost right just off the coast of Central America, right around, and it's not even that far into the future. We're only going like 2 days out with this, and you see there is a lack of wind shear in this region, and there is still some wind shear in the Gulf of Mexico and extending further eastward into the Caribbean. However, for this region where tropical cyclone development is possible, the wind shear definitely does diminish over the next several days. And moving forward, you see that the wind shear continues to stay light in this area, and that certainly could raise the concern of tropical cyclone development when we're seeing wind shear that's very light, when we're seeing warm sea surface temperatures, as well as a lack of dry air. So what really will determine whether this storm develops or not is really how much convection there will be in the Atlantic side of things, because there's going to be a gyre, I'd say, on the western coast of Central America, and I think that gyre is sort of going to compete with cyclonic vorticity or energy from this low pressure system, and that's going to make it difficult for the air molecules to focus its sights on one area. And typically tropical cyclones pretty much need to be the primary focus when it comes to air molecules. When there's divergence of energy or air molecules into another low pressure system, that typically inhibits tropical cyclone development, because at that point you could call it wind shear when we're seeing the air molecules divert from the center of circulation within the low pressure system. So we need to see how much convection occurs in the Atlantic side of things to see if this does have a chance of tropical cyclone formation in the Atlantic. Will the gyre mainly stay far away from the Atlantic, or will it be close enough to where there's going to be just enough convection in the Atlantic side things to develop an independent surface low right or just off the coast of Central America? We just got to wait and see. However, based off what we're seeing right now with the lack of wind shear, the warm temperatures, and the warm sea surface temperatures, and the lack of dry air, it could certainly become conducive for a tropical cyclone development over the next several days. And even headed beyond 5 days, we continue to see the lack of wind shear in this area. And while there is strong wind shear right around the Gulf of Mexico, there's sort of an upper level high which could potentially enhance tropical cyclone development, because that represents that there's going to be a strong outflow with this low pressure system that will enhance convection and tropical cyclone development at that. So we need to pay close attention to this in terms of what the European model is saying. The European actually is forecasting some sort of low pressure system to develop right around this gyre, where we do see a low pressure system make landfall, or a tropical cyclone make landfall just on the western coast of Mexico, and it's going to move northward into the Gulf of Mexico, where there is a little bit of vorticity right around the Gulf of Mexico over the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So we could certainly see some sort of tropical cyclone next week, I'd say. And by the way, this is in a very long-term future, so take this with a huge grain of salt. But based on what we're seeing with this potential gyre that's going to form right around Central America, I do believe tropical cyclone could maybe form maybe as early as this week, but next week is probably more likely at this point, once the gyre really gets itself going and once conditions become conducive enough just off the coast of Central America. But despite the fact that there's only a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 5 days, you don't want to take this as completely truth at this point, because I do believe that beyond 5 days, the chance could increase for tropical cyclone development. And you might be asking what direction this tropical cyclone will be going. Well, it seems the most likely scenario seems to be that this low pressure system will move further northward along with the winds of this gyre that's going to be just off the coast of the Central America, and it's going to move northward into the Gulf of Mexico. And at that point, it puts a lot of the United States at high risk for some sort of landfall, whether this low pressure system develops or not. So even if it doesn't develop, there still could be a chance of rainfall along Gulf Coast. So you guys at least need to be aware of this throughout the Gulf Coast. It's still way too early to prepare. There's still a lot to unfold when it comes to details, but I'll make sure to update you guys as we get closer and closer and more certain with the forecast. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day. Okay, guys, I almost forgot to mention the Mojo forecast over the next couple of weeks. So as you can see, for today, you see that conditions are favorable for tropical cyclone development because there's a lot of lift in the atmosphere at this point. So what the darker blues represent is more favorable conditions for tropical cyclone development, and while the oranges and reds represent less favorable conditions. So you see over the next week, we're going to see conditions more favorable for tropical cyclone development because there's going to be more lift in the atmosphere and more convection. So this certainly raises a concern of tropical cyclone development over the next several days. So we also need to keep this in mind, and this makes me believe that there is a higher chance of tropical cyclone development than what the National Hurricane Center currently suggests. But this is just my take on it. Still take it with a huge grain of salt, but tropical cyclone development could be possible headed into next week. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching.